Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel Been covering all manner of tabletop gaming. Please take a moment to like, subscribe, and add comments. It would really help me out. And with that, let's begin this episode. Now, as you can see, we have some more 15mm experimental project using archvillaingames science fiction miniatures. And this is the third faction that I'm doing for this project because we are trying to scale down 50%. Yeah, 50%, which should make them approximately 15mm scale. But as we've found with the other two factions, the Demon Star and the Gault, there have been some successes and some failures. The biggest problem that we have is that archvillaingames figures are super detailed. And when you scale down, you lose some of those details, but also supporting can be a big problem because there are just so many details and so many islands. And at this scale, the supports have to be so much smaller that sometimes it just doesn't work. And before I start showing you the miniatures that I've done, I'll basically mention a couple that I couldn't do. Now, Actually, let's introduce the faction first. Haven't done that yet, have I? This is the Hellas Eternal Warcry faction. And it is very much an ancient Greek-inspired design, which, as you'll see in a second, some of the models really give us a 40k Custodes feel. And there are also, in the design, there are some elements that have Minotaur as an inspiration and as a design choice. So these could also be used, like I say, in 40k, maybe as Custodes or maybe as part of a Minotaur's Space Marine chapter in some form. Maybe the little guys here could be used as scouts. Maybe these guys could be used as special characters, possibly. But let's have a look at those later. But there were a couple of models in this faction that I just couldn't support them because no matter what orientation I put the models, there were just way too many islands, and it would have caused a lot of problems for the printing. It would have caused a lot of problems for my printer. And these were what they called the Alephsis. I'll put a picture up. And these are essentially the jet bikes. And I really wanted to have a couple of these jet bikes as part of this army to add some mobility, to add some flair, to kind of show off the range as well. But I just couldn't support them or justify supporting them, and it just took so long, which is another point that I'll be making. I think I've made it a few times before in the other videos, but I'm still not convinced that this is a good idea because the amount of time that it's taking me to support the figures it's just way too long, and I don't know whether I can actually justify. So again, I think I said this after the Gault, the second war clan. I think I said after there is a case of maybe I won't do anymore. Well, I'm still kind of thinking that I may do another one, I may not. For the one that's basically like the ogre army, the chaos ogre army. I really love those figures, but if I print them at full size, they're absolutely huge. All of them are huge. If I do it 50%, then it's possible that I could actually print that army out. But like I say, I don't know. We'll have to see. But I have done a third army, as you can see here. Number of figures it's not as many as the Gault or the Demon Star, but it is enough for a Battle Rune skirmish or Grimdark Future firefight, or some of the smaller scale skirmish games. This will be fine. So what we have here, we have 5 oplights. Now, it's not a silent H. There is no H. It's oplight, as opposed to the Greek hoplites. And these are your basic sort of light infantry. They come with shields. There are some with spears. There's one with like a gun. Again, I'll show you these individually in a second. I've printed out 3 myrmidons, which are like the large infantry. And again, see the scale difference here. But these are really heavily armed sort of ogre-sized troops. There are 5 in the set, but I only printed 3. And then over here on the left, I actually have 2 Kratios, which are like these huge dreadnoughts. Again, I'll put some pictures up here when I show you these. Now, I haven't assembled these yet. I've actually primed them unassembled, because when they're assembled, it's going to be very difficult to paint certain parts. So for these guys, what I'm actually going to be doing is painting them separately and then assembling them once I've finished painting. So for things like the weapons, I'm going to be putting pins at the connecting points, because again, I think I'll have to pin it when I assemble it anyway, and then I'll be using those to assemble. But yeah, I'll show you these in more detail. Let's have a look. So this is the primed state. I'm using a newer can of spray paint this time, so I don't have as many problems with that rough surface. There are a couple of places where it has happened, but overall it's a much better surface than I had with the Demon Star and the Gault figures. Right, enough of the jibber jabber. Let's have a look at some of these figures. And let's start off with the little guys, the Oplites. So these are like your basic human scale infantry or foot troops, and they, again, like all archvillain games, they are hyper detailed. So as you can see here, it's got a sword on the back, it has a shield. Again, the detail on the shield is really nice. I don't know whether you can see it on the camera. The spear, I'm in constant fear of breaking these spears. I did actually break one of the weapons, I'll show you that in a second, but yeah. So this is one of the Oplites. I love the helmet design. In fact, I actually like the design of all these guys. I've always been a big fan of Greek armies in other games. DBA and War Master, Ancients. I've always been a big fan of the Greek armies with the big phalanxes and everything. But yeah, and of course, the Spartans. 300. Oh, I love the film 300. Or even the older version, the sort of original movie, the 300 Spartans. Yeah, so this is one of the Oplites. And again, I'm having to be really careful because these spears, they're so delicate. So the second guy, spears bent a little bit, I think. But again, you got the design, the detail. Again, I'm not sure how much you're going to be able to see of that shield on the camera. But the detail is so fine. Like I say, there's so many islands and so many little details that it takes ages to support these guys. I mean, I did mention before, sort of, no need to support all the islands, but the thing is that then creates tiny little bits of resin in the tank, and that can cause problems later on. So, I don't know, you've got to kind of find a sort of balance where you support as much as you can. But yeah, some of these things, it's just, I don't know whether it's worth it, to be honest. So that's a second Oplite. Put him back. The third guy doesn't have a spear. This guy has a shield and sword. I have to hold it a bit further away. Sorry, guys. My camera doesn't have very good macro. I don't have a very good way of getting close-ups, unfortunately. Don't know whether you can see the sword that well. But it doesn't have as rough a surface as the swords on, like, for example, the Gault. But yeah, this is another really nice design. And again, I love the Greek influence on the... Come on, focus. The Greek influence on the armor. I really do like that. The fourth guy... Okay, so this guy's actually armed with a missile weapon. Now, if you look at the weapon, if you look at the gun, it has 2, like, crossbow bits coming out. There's actually supposed to be 4. There's supposed to be 2. Let's see if I can hold him. There's supposed to be 2 on the top, and there's supposed to be 2 underneath. So it's actually supposed to be like a cross, if you look at the front section. But the bottom 2 actually broke off as I was removing supports. So, yeah. And this guy doesn't have a crest on his helmet. By design, it's not something that broke off. It's actually by design. But again, the detail's just so fine. Even if you look at these guys at 100% scale, 28 or 32 mil, 100% size, the detail is still really, really fine and really hyper detailed. Now, this is the guy where the weapon broke off. He was actually supposed to be holding a sword that was pointing down, but the sword broke off basically again while I was removing supports. So I've got to try and figure out what to do with him, whether I'm going to try and, I don't know, find another weapon to fit on there or something, or maybe put some kind of whip with a piece of wire. I don't know what I'm going to do. I may just leave it as it is, and maybe try and find something to stick on his back, maybe. I might just leave it as it is. Sometimes it's just not worth the hassle. So yeah, those are the oplites. Now, with the Hellas Eternal set from archvillaingames, you only get these 5 human size or human scale models in the set. So if you're planning to do a larger game, a larger battle, I'm not sure how you want to do this, whether you just want to print the same design over and over again. We'll have to see. I did notice that archvillaingames, as of I think August, it looks like they're going to be introducing sort of a modular design into these. So you actually got separate parts. You've got torsos, arms, legs, heads that you can actually combine in different ways, as well as having the single piece models for those who don't want that modularity. But yeah, it's a bit late for these guys, unfortunately. Right, let's move to the ones at the back here, the Myrmidons. Let's start with this guy. Now, again, these are pretty big. I think these are supposed to be at full scale. I think these are on 50mm bases, so they're big, chunky guys. And if you look at the front of the gun, you can see the Minotaur element with the 2 horns, the cow skull. But yeah, again, really nice details, really nice design. The bases all come with sort of the Greek runes on the edge. Nice cloak at the back. Now, in terms of color scheme, I am thinking of going Custodes. So I'm thinking gold armor, red trim, red cloaks, things like that, possibly. Maybe a yellow or blue for the eyes and for like the glowy aspects, the glowy elements of the models. But I am thinking to do them as a Custodes influenced paint job. Okay, another guy here. Now this guy actually came with a separate piece which was supposed to be a strap that goes from the gun up to his shoulder plate there. I didn't bother. It was just too small, too flimsy. I just didn't bother printing it. But again, if you look at his right shoulder guard, you see there's that Minotaur inspired iconography on his shoulder guard, shoulder plate there. So again, these could be quite easily used as special characters in a Space Marine Minotaur army. Now, this guy is probably the most Custodes of the lot with his staff gun combo weapon. Again, I love the crest on his helmet. Again, you've got the right shoulder plate there with the Minotaur design. Really nice. Really, really nice. Actually, the top of his weapon actually broke off while I was doing the primer, because I normally use blue tack to secure these onto a piece of foam core when I'm printing them, and as I was pushing this down on the blue tack to hold it in place, the top of that just broke off. I must have brushed it with part of my finger, but yeah, I really, really like it. But like I said, I think the typical Custodes color scheme, gold armor with a red supports would suit these guys really well. And like I say, these guys I think are full scale. They're on 50mm bases, so yeah, they are chunky lads. Right, let's take a look at these Kratios figures. So these are in essence kind of your dreadnought or your big robot. Not Titan, they're not big enough to be Titans, but they're definitely big dreadnoughts. And again, at full scale, at 100% size, these things are going to be gigantic. So the bases, again, very nicely designed, that have that Greek influence, which is gorgeous, with very nice detailing, very nice channels, which will accept contrast paints, speed paints, and washes really well to get into those, what are they called? Into those gaps there. That'd be really, really nice. Got a bit of wiring there as well. The legs for this guy, come on, focus. There you go. So for the groin, you've got the Minotaur head there again, see? And again, you've got the legs. Really, really nice detail. And this guy is going to fit onto here. Let's see if I can figure out where he's supposed to go. Something like that. No, like that. Oh, like that. Okay, so he's supposed to basically fit on something like that onto the base here. A bit off center, but that's fine. But yeah, this is how he fits on the base, like that. The torso is like a ball. It's very round, very spherical. But again, a lot of detail on here. Now, again, in this set, there are 5 designs of these Kratios, of these dreadnought things, and they've all got different designs to their torso, their weapons, their legs, their bases, so you can really make these look good. I'm not too sure how swappable they are. I mean, in terms of the torso fitting to the legs, I'm pretty sure that you can swap the top and bottom halves of these guys around. Like I said, there are 5 different designs. So I'm pretty sure that you can swap the tops and bottoms around. Weapons, I'm not too sure, because the weapons actually fit very nicely onto the shoulder pads there. So I'm not too sure whether these are going to be interchangeable or not amongst the different designs. But yeah, you got the weapons, and you got these like, I don't know what you'd call these. Little pennants maybe? Or banners sort of hanging down. Again, be very careful with those. I've had a couple break already. But yeah, this is like a pulse rifle. So that's one. Got to be careful with these in case they break. And then the other one, again, will fit on the other side. And like I say, they do slot in really nicely. A really good fit, and that's why I'm thinking maybe the weapons aren't interchangeable. But if you assemble the torso with the 2 weapons, you can probably put it on a different pair of legs, I reckon. But yeah, really, really nice. In the next part of the video where I do the work in progress and also the final, obviously these guys will be more finished and more complete. The second Kratios, again, you got the base. I think it's a slightly different design. Is it a different design? Yeah, slightly different design. But again, you've got that Greek, I don't know the exact term for it, but like the Greek rune or the Greek patterning all over it. Again, the legs, slightly different design this time, but you still got the Minotaur influence to part of it. The torso now. Torso for this guy looks very different to the torso here. If you can see the helmet area, you can see it's a very different design. But like I say, I'll have to test and see whether you can actually mix and match the weapons. But there are, like I say, there are 5 different designs. Some have, melee, some have ranged. This guy is equipped more with like heavy plasma guns or fusion guns. Really, I mean, look at the detail. It's absolutely amazing. Look at the detail on that. Now you can see the problems I'm having in terms of supporting these at such a small scale. And then you got the other arm here. Now I think some of the other designs do have different weapons on left and right. These 2 that I happen to print out have the same weapons left and right. So I think, if I remember correctly, the other Kratios designs, I think have a mix of weapons left and right. It's just so happens I've just built the 2 that have the same. Never mind. So, this is what I've printed and primed. Like I say, I'm going to paint the Kratios in parts and then assemble afterwards. Now, the paints that I'm thinking of using, and again, subject to change, using Hoplite Gold, I think, for the main armor, which is going to be a lot. So I may end up using the whole pot of that. And then I'm thinking maybe a flesh wash, possibly. Come on, focus. It's not going to focus, is it? It doesn't want to focus. There you go, flesh wash. Either a flesh wash or maybe a red wash to kind of give the armor that red tinge. And then for the red, sort of for the cloaks, for the banners and stuff, I think I'm thinking of using Slaughter Red, which is a bit darker, to sort of offset the brightness of the gold. That's the plan, but as we know, plans can change. Like, for example, with my Gult, I couldn't use the paint I wanted because Army Painter refused to send me a replacement, so I had to find another one. Still haven't got anything. This is this is the beginnings. I will come back. Well, I mean, for me, it's going to be a little bit of time, but for you guys, it will be really quick, and I'll come back with some work in progress. Right, here we have some of the work in progress. I have the Oplites here. I have the, what are these called? The Myrmidons. And at the bottom, this is one of the Kratios, the big sort of dreadnought kind of figures. I do have the other one over there. I'm not going to need this for the first game, so it's not a priority at the moment, but I do need to have one, the one with, I think, the pulse rifles. I think the one still in the box, I think this one has like the fusion cannons or whatever they're called. So I've done the base. I've done both the bases, but like I say, I'm focusing on getting one of these done first so I can actually start recording the battles. So, what I've done so far is I have done the flesh. Now, the flesh is only on the small guys, the Oplites. The Myrmidons and the Kratios don't have any flesh, from what I can see on the models. But the Oplites do have some flesh. Not a huge amount. Come on, focus. There you go. Not a huge amount of flesh, to be honest. But I did them. Again, you can see maybe the top of the leg there. Parts of the arm. Come on, focus. Yeah, parts of the arm. But yeah, there's not a huge amount of flesh, just in between the pieces of armor, basically. But for the flesh, I did over a white prime. I did Crusader skin speed paint. Came out way too dark for what I wanted, so I had to go over and do a highlight with just a cheap flesh tan. After the flesh, I then went and started on the armor. Now, I wanted to try the new speed paint metallics. I have here the Hoplite Gold. So I was hoping that, again, they say it's a one coat solution. It's not, in my experience, it's not. But I was hoping that it would do a pretty good job, so I wouldn't have to do much more. So I gave these guys the Oplites, the Myrmidons, the 3 Myrmidons, and also I started one of the Kratios. The thing is that I'm doing it in parts. Assembling it before painting is going to be a real pain to get into certain areas, so I'm actually painting it and then assembling it afterwards. But I only have one pin vise to sort of hold the parts where I've got the pins. So I've actually only done the armor on the 2 arms and the body. I haven't done the legs yet. The legs, I'm thinking about maybe I'll attach the legs to the base before painting the legs, because the base is done. I just need to varnish. I think that's what I'm going to be doing. I mean, I wanted a light grey for the basic rock, and then for the sort of Greek style flooring or tiling, all I did over the white primer was use. Did I put it back? I think I put it back. I just used, where is it? Bump. The green wash from Army Painter. So this was just straight over the white undercoat, the white primer, and it gave a really the kind of thing I was looking for. That just slight greenish tinge to give it maybe a slight marble effect. And then you've got the metallic, maybe cable conduit there. This was painted with, I think it was gunmetal metallic. And then given I think it was a dark wash. And then the the cabling itself, I kind of wanted the cabling to be sort of black cables, but it just was way too dark. So I kind of did some blue highlights just to kind of bring it out a little bit. But yeah, so these are the bases. The resin base is just put onto a piece of art board, art card, backing board, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, I'm thinking now, now that this is done, I'm thinking that maybe I will actually pin the legs. Where does it go? That foot goes there, that one goes there. Okay, so this is the position that it's going to be. This is where the sort of gaps are for the feet. But I'm thinking that I'm going to pin this guy or the legs to this before I actually paint it. Because I'm a little bit worried about actually fixing it to the base. I don't think super glue is going to be enough. So that's the plan. I'll probably fix the legs to the base and then paint the legs. But the body and the two arms, I have done the armor plates. So yeah, I gave it a base of that hoplite gold. Come on, the hoplite gold speed paint. But I also gave it a flesh wash. Come on, focus. There you go. A flesh wash. Now, why did I do that? Well, the hoplite gold by itself was just so flat. There was very little in terms of shadow and sort of raised area highlighting. It just really, really flat. So I had to give it a little bit of depth, and I used flesh wash because it has a very slight reddish tinge to it. I didn't want to use the red. I didn't want to use the red wash. I think that would be too strong. I just wanted a very slight reddishness to the brown when I did the wash. So this is hoplite gold with a flesh wash, and I think this come out really, really nice. So what I'm planning to do now is to do a quick dry brush with bright gold, metallic, and then possibly a silver dry brush, very, very light dry brush with silver, possibly. The only thing I'm concerned about is on the smaller figures, like this Myrmidon. The detail is just so fine. Like I say, these are scaled down 50% from archvillaingames. So these are half scale, and the detail on archvillaingames is absolutely superb. You scale it down 50% and the details become so small. I'm not sure if the dry brushing is going to be able to pick it out well enough. But that's the plan. Now, with the very small figures, with the human-sized figures, the oplites, I had a little bit of an issue because when I applied the wash to the hoplite gold, it's come out very, very dark. So, I mean, come on, focus. These guys are going to need the dry brush and the highlights more than anything else. I mean, if I look at these two here, the Kratios, the sort of dreadnought robot thing, is much closer to being a finished... Come on, focus. Much closer to being a finished piece than the human figures or the human-sized figures. This needs a lot of work to actually bring it out because at the moment the armor is way too dark. So that's where we are at the moment. So what I'm now planning to do is maybe things like hardened leather for the legs and for the straps, maybe silver. And I'm thinking again of using the speed paint, metallic broadsword silver for things like the weapons. Again, let's get one of the Myrmidons, they're easier to see. If he focuses, it'll be easier to see. Come on, focus, you git. There you go. So things like the weapons, I'll do a base of like silver, maybe pick out some colours afterwards. Now these do have little tassels, and they do have cloaks. I'm planning to do those. Again, I'm thinking sort of Custodes style, so maybe I'll do those with a slaughter red. But at the moment, I wanted to do a work in progress shot of what I've done so far to kind of show you that the metallics need work. So yeah, and again, with the Kratios arms, again, the basic armor is done, hoplite gold with a flesh wash. I need to dry brush some highlights onto this. Again, I'll try that bright gold and shining silver and see if that makes any difference. Just a light dry brush to pick out the edges. And then again, you've got the tassels, which are very fragile. You've also got, under the plates, you've got the tassels here. Again, these are going to be red. The gun is going to be a base of the silver. I'm going to try the speed paint silver, the broadsword silver on the guns, and then maybe add colours to things like canisters and axes and things like that. So that's the current work in progress. Like I say, I'm going to assemble the Kratios when he's done. And I do have the other guy over here, which I've done the base. Again, the base was done exactly the same way as the other one. Again, that green wash over the white really does give a nice marble colour, in my opinion. I mean, it may not look very marble-like to you. Did I say Marmite or marble? But yeah, so both the bases are done. But like I say, this model I'm not planning to use in the campaign until I think the third battle. So possibly the second battle, but I won't be needing him in the first battle. So at the moment, this guy's kind of WIP, work in progress. But I do need to get this done, and I do need to get these guys done as well, because I need these for the first battle. So once these guys are done, I can then proceed with the battle rune videos, the campaign. I know there's been a delay, real life. Sorry. But we get back to painting, and I'll show you the completed figures once they're done. Back in a sec. And here we are with our finished figures. Well, I mean, they're pre-varnish. But as I've mentioned in the other videos, varnish is kind of a gamble here. So these could potentially get ruined by the varnish with frosting and everything. So this part of the video, I'm showing you the paint jobs before we risk the varnish. Now, here we've got one of the Kratios. There is another one over here, still in the box. I've done a little bit of work to it. Like, for example, I've done some of the base coats for the sort of flexible under armor elements. I've also done the base red, the slaughter red for the sort of tabard there, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, this is the other Kratios. It's not done yet. Over here, this is the stuff we're starting with. This is what we need for the small battles for the campaign. We have our 5 oplites without an H. We have 3 Myrmidons and the Kratios with the pulse rifles. Now, I will say this right at the start. I am not 100% happy with how these turned out. I don't know, it just didn't come out as well as I was hoping, especially for the oplites, the small sort of human-sized guys. The armor just came out really, I don't know, dull. I mean, when I was doing the dry brushing, I was being extremely careful not to break anything, which I still broke things, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm not 100% happy with how these guys turned out, but they'll be fine for the games. This is the guy whose sword broke off, I think, when I was removing the supports. The base is a mix of metallic and also sort of rubble. For the sort of leather areas, the straps, the boots, and on the back, there were also some areas for the boots and the straps. For that, I actually used, where is it? Sand Golem speed paint. And I've got to be honest, after painting this on those sort of leather areas, I was kind of thinking that maybe that might be a better choice for actually doing the armor. Where is it? This guy. Okay, so this is one of the Myrmidons. And I used Sand Golem. Okay, again, I actually used Sand Golem for that sort of bull minotaur part of his gun. And it just strikes me as maybe being a better option for the armor. I don't know. We'll have to see. But yeah, this is one of the Myrmidons. With sort of larger figures, I was a bit more free to do the dry brushing a little bit easier, a little bit better without worrying about breaking stuff off. The red for the tassels on the side and also for the cloak, we started off with, and also for the crest on top there, We started off with Slaughter Red. Bom, bom. So yeah, I mean, the red actually took a little bit more work again because I was trying to get the finish I wanted. So we started off with Slaughter Red from Army Painter. I then did a dry brush with... It says orange, but it's like a very light red. It's not orange. I mean, it looks more orange on camera, but it's actually like a very light red. I then did another highlight with Molotov Flames. Again, Army Painter, but this is from the Zombicide set. And when I did that, I took it too far. It was too late. So I needed to bring it back down, so I then basically gave them a red wash. And it actually came out right. I mean, it gave me the finish that I kind of wanted. It just took how many steps? So you can see there the crest. It's quite dark, but it has shadows and highlights. On the back here, the cloak. It's how I wanted it to be. I didn't want it to be a bright red. I wanted it to be a sort of dark red, and it came out okay. The weapons, I used broadsword silver to begin with. I did highlights with shining gold, and for this guy with his halberd bolter thingamybobby, I actually gave the blade a blue wash. Again, it's just a quick thing I did. It's not perfect, but it's fine. It's good enough for what I need it for. But yeah, that's how the Myrmidons turned out. So there were three Myrmidons. Come on, focus. There you go. 3 Myrmidons. There were 5 Oplites. Now, I had a lot of trouble with these guys with the weapons. They're so small. This guy's sword broke off as I was dry brushing. Again, I didn't think I was dry brushing that hard, but is his shield going to focus? There you go. Superb detail. It's just a pain at this size. But yeah, his sword broke off when I was doing the dry brushing, so I had to try and fix it. Not brilliantly, but again, it was such a small contact area, I was kind of limited how I could actually fix it back on. Also, which one was it? Was it this one? I think it was this guy. So he has a sword on his back. Come on, focus. And that handle broke off. And when I was gluing it, it glued at a weird angle. So I'm not going to go back and do it again. It's a bendy handle. There you go. But again, you can see the sort of details that we're dealing with. And again, this is 15mm scale, yeah. But yeah, so that's one of the spear guys. And the other, again, I've got to be so gentle. The spears and weapons are so delicate. This is the other spear guy. Again, I don't know whether the focus is going to work, but yeah, there you go. So this is 5 Oplites, 3 Myrmidons, and we got the 1 Kratios now. This guy was a bit of work. Is he going to focus? There you go. This guy really was a bit of work to get him up to a sort of wargaming standard. Again, I am not a top level painter. I'm a war games table painter, tabletop quality only. But yeah, it came out okay. But again, that armor was such a lot of work. Let's turn him around so you can see the other side. Yeah, I had to use I used super glue to fix his arms to the torso and the legs to the base because I had heavy pins. But fixing the torso to the legs, the fixing point along here, yeah, I kind of went with 2-part epoxy because there was a fair gap in between. It wasn't a very perfect fit in terms of the surfaces. So I used super glue on the pin, but I used 2-part epoxy for the actual surface. That's why you can see a little bit of shininess around here. That's a 2-part epoxy that's kind of on the edges here, on the gaps here. It should become less noticeable once I actually varnish this. But okay, look, in terms of scale, look, on the right, human size figure, 28 to 32mm. On the left, the Kratios. Look at the size difference. I can't actually remember what size base. I think the Kratios is supposed to be on a 75mm base. So it's a big lad. Now I do, like I say, I do have one more of these Kratios to make. Again, I've started little bits there. The base is done. I've done, I think, the Gravelord Grey and the Slaughter Red on there. I think I've had a little bit of extra Slaughter Red, so I started this one as well on the little scarf things. But yeah, this has still got a ways to go. But I don't need this for the first battle. I do need these guys for the first battle. So this is 50% scale. Remember, hyper detailed, ready for the battle room campaign. Now, what I will do is I will now try to varnish these. Not now, I've got to wait until it gets the coolest, which isn't still very cool over here. But I'll varnish these and then we will end the video with like a slideshow of pictures showing these guys a little bit closer. Hope you enjoyed this. Please watch until the end. Coming up next is going to be the battle room campaign in terms of creating the campaign. I've got a special little video for that. And then there will be the campaign battles, a series of videos. So make sure that you ring the bell to get notified when those videos are going to be uploaded. But until then, guys, again, please watch till the end. We've got a slideshow of all the finished figures. Thank you very much. Stay safe. Cheers.